Last week, we took a moment to remember one of the most iconic performers of the last few decades, Robin Williams. This man brought millions of people, including myself, thousands of hours apiece of immeasurable joy and entertainment. I took it upon myself to look for a film that I thought may have been unfairly judged. A film that, in my heart, I believe that maybe it was simply a misunderstood masterpiece. The film I decided to take a chance on is probably one of Robin's most universally reviled and despised films, Death to Smoochy. One thing I promise, in respect to Robin Williams and his family, I will be completely honest in my review of tonight's film. Here's your damn rant show, folks.
Dirty fuck!
Greetings and welcome to Season 2 of Adam's Film Rants. I'm your host, E. Adam Thomas, and we've got a new desk, a new set, more movies, and the same old bitter fuck, me. Let's see what kind of shit we can stir up, shall we? Tonight we'll be looking at Death to Smoochy, which is probably regarded as one of the worst films Robin Williams ever made. After reading several reviews of this film, and given the fact that I find most other major film reviewers to be a load of pompous, egotistical windbags with about as much intellectual credibility as Chris Christie shilling for Weight Watchers, I figured that this was a film that, if worthy, could be redeemed. Sadly, and with all due respect to a man who has been one of the most cherished performers of my entire adult life, I could not have been more wrong. Directed by Danny DeVito, who frankly should stick to dispatching cabs, Smoochy teams Robin with Edward Norton, Catherine Keener, and Jon Stewart, the latter of which proves he's better off doing his own material and hopefully had his agent thrown into a volcano after this cinematic abortion. Now, this comes at a point in Robin's career where he was at the most roller coaster-like in terms of his choices of film. He was trying so hard to be diverse, and he made some absolute classics, including Good Will Hunting, Aladdin, and The Birdcage. He was also making some really shitty films, and Death to Smoochy has to be, in all honesty, the epitome of a rectal prolapse of a film. The long and short of it is that he is a disgraced children's TV icon who is replaced by a naive vegan hippie fuck puppet, the eponymous Smoochy, played by Edward Norton. The film has Harvey Fierstein playing a crooked children's charity organizer, an Irish mob that's more lovable than threatening, not quite Boondock Saints-ish, Jon Stewart, with a hairdo that makes it look like he's cosplaying a bad fucking Patrick Troughton. I mean, I'm a big lover of dark, avant-garde comedy, but it's like they took a shitload of white cards from Cards Against Humanity, threw them into a bucket, and made the guys from Jackass smoke some hash and try to assemble them into a fucking plot. The film is most irritating because right about midway through the runtime, it almost starts seeming like it's going to turn out to be awesome. Right in the middle, there's some really brilliant humor, some great character moments, and some instances where every character almost seems like they are shining as brightly as possible. Then it comes to a scene where Williams' character, who has just about given up any hope of redemption, is about to pull a taekwondo in the middle of Times Square by dousing himself in gasoline and lighting a match. A sweet little girl comes up to him, tells him she remembers his show and that she loved his character, and blows out the match. It's a beautiful, touching little moment, and it signals the moment where this film shifts from being slightly unbalanced but oddly amusing to an intelligence-insulting shitfest. All of the characters shift their motivational paradigms unrealistically, do stupid-ass shit, and it all just becomes a convoluted Looney Tunes cartoon with no jokes and lots of unapologetic suck. Seriously. I mean, lots of movies have trouble getting going, and it takes a while to finally settle down to a point where you can afford to really start caring about the outcome. But I think this is probably about the first time I've ever seen a film with this many really talented and well-respected names attached to it that ever came to that point, then abruptly turned around, dropped its trousers, slapped the audience in the face with its cock, and then took a huge steamy dump right in their faces. It's almost like the film's whole purpose was to piss off as many people who paid to see this cinematic date rape of a film as possible. The worst part of it is, Robin is so horrifically underused. It isn't even funny. I honestly started to think by the end of the film that Danny DeVito's whole purpose in making this movie was to show Robin Williams just how much unbridled, cynical contempt he had for him. Robin gets hardly any scenes in which he's allowed to improvise or riff. He's treated like shit, he's filmed like shit, he spends half the film with bruises and welts so egregious he looks more like John Hurt in The Elephant Man. What's the matter, Danny? Still fucking jealous because Mort kicked Taxi's ass in the ratings? I'm not even sure there's a point to it. But let's drag out the old Rantometer anyway, shall we? Just to confirm the inevitable. Artistic gets a 2, if only because the actors were obviously not phoning it in. They just didn't realize how awful a script they were actually dealing with. Coolness gets a big fat 0 because the only cool thing about this film is the fact that it is not mandatory viewing anywhere. Originality only gets a 1 because even though it was a very unique concept, it was raped and ass-gobbled in so many predictable ways that none of it was ultimately enjoyable. Suckitude gets a fucking 5 because there isn't room for 6. Death to Smoochy gets a -2. And no, none of that is Robin Williams' fault because he was fucking trying his best to pull something resembling gold out of this irredeemable turd fest. Now, for those of you who might be wondering why I didn't review a film like Good Will Hunting, Good Morning Vietnam, or any one of a couple of dozen of Robin's arguably far more awesome films, it's because that's not the point of this fucking show. I'm here to warn you about the piece of shit films you need to avoid and slap your silly fucking ass upside the head for avoiding films that really should be seen. I'm not here to slobber a bunch of sloppy verbal diarrhea about how wonderful movies are. I'm not here to promote some shitbag studio's latest fiscal gamble in hopes that they can at least break even on some pathetic snot bubble that they paid way too much to put out in the first place to the drooling, bile-guzzling masses. If you want that shit, watch your local TV affiliate's Hollywood Insider segment on their pathetic-ass morning show. If you want some honest, no-shit Sherlock evaluations of the films, then this is your spot, Adam's Film Rants. Don't forget, you can suggest films for me to rant about on social media using the hashtag FilmRantsEAT, and I will get to them as long as they don't suck as bad as this movie. Next week, we'll be looking at a film requested by Eileen Heath from Fort Worth, Texas, Troll 2. Wait, what was that about not sucking? Oh well, fuck it. See you next week. I'm gonna go pray and get shit-faced. Good night! Oh shit, this was a new tie too.
cookie.